The Sporting Dog Adventures podcast is proudly brought to you by Soggy Acres Retrievers. Whether you're looking for a black, yellow, or chocolate Labrador Retriever puppy, please check out our website for more information at www.soggyacres.com. You can also email Jeff at sportingdogtv@gmail.com or call 262-215-9683. And remember, everyone deserves a soggy dog. Hey, welcome to the Hunting Guy podcast. I'm here with Doug Roberts from Conquest Scents, and Doug has decided he wanted to be a guinea pig on our show and talk to us about what they do. So Doug, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jeff, thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, so Doug and we worked together. I worked with their company when I had our television program, Sporting Dog Adventures, and they have a great line of bird scents. We aren't going to talk about the bird scents probably a whole lot today. We're going to focus more on the big game part of it. But Doug, when people see Conquest Scents, what else is it that you do? You have so many neat products. You guys have a deer farm that's led to your innovation on so many things. You guys have had a TV show. You have a lot going on.
Well, we do. And, you got 31 years ago, we started raising whitetail deer. And we have evolved so many different times over the 31 years. We did the breeding program, the genetics, and we actually, helped build farms and ranches all across the country. Then I got into building ranches for really rich people, private and public, both. And then I had this scent idea. And I thought, I'll try that scent idea. And it took off. And originally it was just the VS1 liquid. Was the very first and original scent that we came out with actually 18 years ago.
And the VS1 is doe and heat.
That's our estrus scent. It's a doe and heat. It's the first one with the vaginal secretions included, mixed in with the urine. And that combination is really what makes it so strong and so powerful, and it makes it last. But what really set us apart was when we came out with the wax stick formula. But it was funny, the first 4 years, everyone thought it was a big gimmick. It's just a different way of dispensing, and it didn't really take off. And then once people realized when we came out with Evercalm, which originally the name was deer herd in a stick. It was deer herd smells, bedding areas. That combination of the wax formula and Evercalm just really took the company to another level at that point. And so then we started making a difference with hunters. The problem we ran into, all the hunters wanted to keep it a secret. So they didn't want to tell all their friends. We're like, no, tell your friends. We need to sell. And at that time, that's when we finally got into the major box stores, Cabela's and Bass Pro and the Gander Mountain at that time, and Dick's Sporting Goods. And so it just has snowballed from there.
So what's been the most fun? Do you enjoy what did you enjoy most on this journey? Was it the breeding deer? Was it the setting up ranches? Is it the innovation with the wax stick?
For me, the number one thing that I enjoy the most is when I can take two different genetic combinations of animals and put them together and create that perfectly typical whitetail, which theoretically I've never done, because even the best stuff that we've ever raised has a few extra points. But when you're raising 240, 250 inch typical whitetails, and these are 3-year-olds, that I'm pretty proud of. But I think the other thing that I really like is reinventing myself. I went from just the genetics program, and then I went into learning how to build high fence ranches and market them and work with the guides and the hunters. And then the scent idea came in. And then in the scent company, everything that we've come up with, Jeff, has been by accident. It's never been something that we've thought of. VS1 happened because we were artificially inseminating a bunch of whitetails up in Canada, and the neighbor kid happened to say something, and it triggered, oh my gosh, this would be a great product to sell. And so then how do we do it? How do we do that? How do I make that work? How can I make money selling that, and at the same time really help hunters be more successful? Evercalm, accidental. Our farmhand handles 90-something deer all by hand, goes out back, and the deer all swarm right to him. And I, without even thinking, I said, well, you stink like a herd of deer. And it hit me. I went, what's the most perfect deer smell to attract them, keep them calm? Deer themselves.
Sure,
So,
sure.
so those two
There's got to be a
things.
lot of science involved in that. I mean, me thinking about it, it's like, all right, it sounds simple. Like, well, let's just make this, but you've got to put in like X amount of everything into a wax-based, basically a deodorant stick, and also have preservative in it so that it does, so that it lasts and holds a smell. There's got to be so much to that. That most people, I don't think, actually realize.
Well, the blend of buck, doe, fawn to make the herd blend,
Mm-hmm.
in the right percentages where they all react to it in a positive manner, was hard to figure out. That took a lot of practice. And when you screwed it up, you knew you screwed it up. Bucks wouldn't be attracted to it, or the does would be very offensive to it if there's too much buck into it. Fawns are always seem to be the safest smell, but what made the wax formula unique is we don't put any preservative in any of our products.
Okay.
Wax is a natural holder.
Okay.
And therefore, there isn't a change in smell, chemical smell to the deer. And that really makes our scents different than everything else you see on the market. They do have to put a preservative in order to make it last over time. Ours simply sits there in a dormant state, mixed into the wax. The outer shell hardens on the stick formula. And as soon as you wipe it, it breaks it loose and you got the perfect smell.
Now, how long are those sticks good for? I know I've got some where if I didn't have them in a fully sealed plastic bag, they would shrink up a little bit. Are they still good once they've shrank a little bit, or at that point is it degraded?
What's internal is still good, but air is the only thing that can evaporate the scent out of the wax formula. And so as you see that shrink,
Mm-hmm.
basically you've lost your scent.
Okay.
That's why we sell them. You know, for years we're telling everybody, hey, when you're not using it, put it in the Ziploc bag, seal it shut.
Mm-hmm.
And then Karen had the bright idea, why don't we just sell them the Ziploc bag to put it back in? And again, another first, we're the first ones to ever do that with any type of scent. Now you see other companies, you know, putting plastic bottles and stuff in.
I'm sure they give you credit too.
Sure.
They're like, Conquest was such an innovator with this. That's why we do this now. I'm sure they're really, really good about that, right?
Yeah. Some of them actually have called and said, hey, that was a great idea. One company even said, we hope you don't mind, but we want to have that same look.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stop them. We had a marketing guy one time tell us imitation is the best form of flattery, and it just pushes you to the top. That makes you legitimate. And at first, we were like, I'm not sure about that, but people have tried to come out with calming scents.
Mm-hmm.
They've literally legitimized that we have the #1 calming scent, Evercalm, in the industry. I mean, it is what it is. It's the best.
Mm-hmm.
It's not us saying it. It's kind of weird, but
You're saying it.
Yeah, coming up with so many firsts, it has been fun. VS1 was the first estrus, vaginal secretion estrus scent. We were the first ones with a wax formula. We were the first ones with a calming scent. Now, then we came out with the Scent Fire, the first vaping heating unit. So all of those first kind of made Conquest scents unique, that we created new categories for hunters to use.
So what is your favorite to use? Do you like the vaping scent? Do you like the actual wax-based scent? I know you have liquid scents that you can put in dispensers. What do you feel like? Obviously, there's a price point and everything, but if you're going to go out and hunt, what's your go-to?
Evercalm stick is #1.
Mm-hmm.
In the wax formula, that's #1. I put it on my boots. I put it on me. I'm going to wipe it out in the tree or in the blind that I'm in. That's an automatic. Since the Scent Fire has come out, and I can control that by remote, and I can put more scent out, less scent, and I actually use 2 or 3 Scent Fires at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So like end of October, middle of October, I'll put Evercalm and Running Buck out, and I'll have them both going off, or I can make one go off and not the other. Then once we get right there at the beginning of November, just before the rut hits here, I'll switch over to VS1. So it's Evercalm and VS1. I love being able to control that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Scent Fire gives me the ability to do. Um, Early in the season, like mock scrapes, then I love the aerosol bombs. I love saturating the ground with the aerosol rather than the wax formula. To me, it seems easier, and when you can really soak it into the ground, I think it's more natural, like a buck or a doe urinating in the dirt
Mhm.
than the wax formula. So those three combinations are probably my most common things that I use out of everything we have.
Yeah, you guys had sent me one of the aerosol things where you push the button, and of course, like a dumbass, I was half tired in the morning. I'm like thinking I had to do something to it, and I broke the thing. So you'll have to let me know where I can find where I can buy one of those, because I still have the stuff, and I'm like, that was roped right, and then I'm like, ah, hell. But I use the wax based a lot, and I started hunting with doe decoys.
Yep,
What a hoot!
they're
I
fun.
always thought that's got to be like the most BS. Like, yeah, I'm going to stick a freaking plastic doe decoy out, and it makes sure it's scent free, but it's going to have my scent on it. It is honestly my go-to because we hunt in an area where there's not a lot of woods, so it's very open. And I had last year, I had an 8-point and a 4-point that fell in love with my decoy, and finally, 45 minutes after shooting, I'm like, hell, I got to get out of the blind. Like, they wouldn't leave. They just sat there, and I'm watching this 8-point, and it was a 2.5-year-old 8-point, and he's like in love, and I'm like doing like play by play, like, boy, you don't talk much, do you? Like, he's standing there by her, and it's like, dude, she's been in the same position for a freaking hour. Like, do you not think that she'd move a little? But putting the scent on that, it is just, that has made it like a lot of fun for me having that decoy out there.
I love using a doe decoy. You're right. Now in Michigan, it's a little harder because of the age structure of our deer herd here.
Mhm.
We don't have the older bucks so much. But in most hunters will ask me, do you use a buck decoy or a doe decoy? I always think if you can use a doe decoy, they let their guard down. It's
Mhm.
kind of like us as human guys when we see good looking women, and everything around us kind of disappears. But if all of a sudden there's a guy that walks up to you and he wants to fight you, a buck decoy, you are aware of everything around you. I mean,
Yeah.
your senses. And so why would you do that? Um, Not that buck decoys aren't fun because of the competition. When they do get into it, I mean, it's neat to see, but to me, it's hard to hunt. A doe decoy is much easier to hunt. Um, and you're right. When you can take a piece of plastic, put scent on it, and make plastic become alive in the woods or out in the field, it's a pretty good scent product to use.
Oh, it is. I have to admit, I mean, I carry my doe decoy out there with my bare hands. I'm not doing the plastic gloves. So it's got my scent on it, and they don't give a shit. I mean, I had does too. The does will come up. I had a doe that kept going up to the doe decoy. That's a head up decoy, and licking its lips. She kept going, and of course now I'm not filming all this cool stuff that I see, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. This thing's not. It just, I mean, deer do some crazy things sometimes, but it's that I've seen more. I've had more fun experiences with that doe decoy and putting the scent on it than any time hunting.
The thing that hunters have to remember is put the scents in the proper areas. In
Mhm.
other words, Evercomb you can put anywhere because it's just all deer smells. But I've seen guys, take VS1 and put it on the belly or, put it down on the legs, put it on the back end, kind of where it comes from.
Maybe
And
you
you
need to
can,
do for doe decoy guys that aren't real bright. Do like a diagram. This is where the vagina is. This is and put like a guy like going like that. I mean, we're in that age now where we have to explain everything.
yeah, yeah.
You don't have to answer that, Doug.
Thank you. I'm going to bypass on that one. But yeah, what's hunters also need to understand is that deer are very trainable with scents. You can train deer to go to certain spots out of the season. Um, you know, Out back, we have a tree that is actually what we call a community tree. And all of the deer, if we put scent on that, all of the deer want to come. They want to kind of lick on it, rub on it all season long. And they're just checking each other out, who's here, who's not, who's still around, who hasn't dropped over dead. who hasn't got hit by a car, all those things. But it's the Evercalm scent and the different things that you put on those trees that creates that community area. Now you're also seeing a lot of those branches coming out that you stick in the ground, and they got the springs, and those are neat. I love those things, and they're very, especially when you put them in the middle of a food plot.
Yep.
First of all, the deer look and go, well, that wasn't there before. So curiosity gets them. They're going to swing downwind going, okay, is it safe? Oh, they smell the scent on it. Oh, we come up. Now you've created a focal point that they want to come to at a certain distance where you shoot to. I mean, it's amazing what you can do with that. And it's just putting it out there and putting scent on it.
Yeah, we call them tree coys.
Yeah.
It's not a decoy. And it's funny because I started with the spring thing, and someone gave me that. And you can't, if you don't have like the perfect tree and it's a branch, it seemed like the spring was always flopping too much. So me being cheap, I've come up with my own plan, and this is patented, or no, patent pending. I take a piece of 2-inch PVC and I just pound it in the ground and then stick my tree in. And then the other thing that I learned was also you got to put screws through the PVC, because I had nice bucks that were stealing my tree from me.
Yep.
Yeah, where they were popping it out. But yeah, we don't have a lot of trees. All of my properties are marsh properties. So yes, there's trees, but to get the deer to go where you want them to go,
right,
you got to be able to put it in there on it by itself. So we use, I think we stick about 6 or 8 of those up, and we always put cameras on them. And we shot one deer right in front of one this year. My son shot a nice deer, and then I shot, my deer was on the same food plot that we always put one on. But those things work great. And yeah, you put the scent in to get them to kind of start using it as a licking branch and a rubbing tree. And the only thing that I hate is my cameras, I'll come in, my tree will be beat to hell and I have no pictures. And it's like, really? Like, come on.
Yeah.
So that's your next thing. You need to come up with a surefire camera that takes pictures the Conquest brand camera.
Yeah, well, that's a whole industry I'm not going to go near. Oh, no. But yeah, my actually, what I call my community tree, I'll actually start the end of July with Evercalm in my food plot. And then when we get right to just before season, I'll switch over to rutting buck, and I'll make a mock scrape underneath it.
Okay.
And I'll do that. So Evercalm on the tree, rutting buck in the mock scrape. That gets more of the bucks coming, and it starts to push a bunch of the does away. And then, of course, when we get right into the the rut, then I'll use VS1 in that scrape, because it's already been taken over with Evercalm. So that's my combination through the season, for me here in Michigan anyway. And it seems to work.
So you're actually putting the rutting buck there, and that's pushing your does out, and it still works good as a...
What's happening is the bucks are coming into that mock scrape and taking it over.
Yep.
And so the does have a tendency of kind of staying away from that area, because they don't want to be harassed. The younger bucks, they're thinking, oh, hey, we can chase everybody. The older bucks are now coming in going, okay, who's going to take this territory over? And it's normally 2 or 3 bucks max that, one of them is going to have that territory.
So would that be a bad strategy then? Thinking of my own on my own hunting, I've got a few that would work on, but I've got one that's in the middle of a food plot. And then I've got another one that it's actually a neat area. It's a cattail marsh, and I've got a high spot out in the middle of the cattail marsh.
Okay.
And we've got basically a 4-foot or 4-leg stand quad pod that we put 30 yards off of that, and it's only one way in, one way out of the bedding area. So you're pretty much set. If you can sneak in there, it's cool, because you're going to see those deer. And that's what people don't understand. When you have marsh property, guys are seeing the deer like right at dark. Well, I'm seeing them an hour and a half before, because that's when they got up and they're starting to move. Right. Would that preclude or stop the does from going in there then, if it's a narrow corridor to get in, narrow corridor to go out?
They'll walk past it, but they don't want to go up and mess with it.
Okay.
And the thing that I'm finding is the does are around the outer perimeter. They'll stay more toward the woods, where the bucks will actually come out, and they'll work that scrape up again. They'll work the tree up again. And so what I'm doing is I'm training the bucks to come out and feel comfortable earlier, before dark. And yeah, I lose the does coming right there, but I'm not hunting the does. I'm hunting, the buck that finally wants to take that territory over. And normally I know who he is. I mean, we've got a couple of 2-3 2-year-olds, and we got a couple of 3-year-olds, and then there's normally like a 4-year-old. I'm normally after the 4-year-old.
Sure.
But again, it's getting them trained to come out and feeling safe earlier before dark to a very specific point. And so, yeah, I don't have the does coming to that tree. Now, once the rut comes in and the does come into heat, then it changes the ballgame a little bit. Those does do come and check real quick and then go back into the thick brush, because there's always younger bucks waiting to chase them around.
Sure.
They're just being always harassed. So.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, the food plot we have it's a big food plot, so that would definitely work there. And it's I'm actually going to try, because all of our stuff is wide open. Once the cattails start to die, they start to lose their height. I'm going to try some of that screening for food plots, where you put up the grasses that are like 10 feet tall.
Yep.
And do like a 3 to 5 yard screen that'll block off. So once crops come down, they can still come into that food plot and feel like they're, I guess, safe.
Yeah, we started using a lot of that tall grass on some of the ranches that I work with, and it works phenomenally well. They feel very comfortable coming in, and they almost feel like they're protected from that outer world. And they'll come in there actually earlier and hang around, and yeah, it'll work for you very well.
I had some crazy soybeans. I had that guy on a show already. It's Eagle Seed. They have soybeans that grow 6 to 7 feet tall. They're only for food plots. And I'm telling you, I call them the mutant beans. And I even asked them, I'm like, hey, are we going to do like Children of the Beans? Well, like dust off Malachi. He might be kind of old now, but we'll put him in the beans. And but it's, if you want a cool food plot, yeah, the beans literally grow like, and it's cool because you've seen food plots, you hunt. Right. On the ends, they were waist high, but then you got to the middle and they were like up to here, because the deer weren't feeding on them as much. Yeah, I'm not. It was insane the amount of the only thing that I did was they got planted late, so I don't think they matured. And didn't work out as well as they could. It worked out great, but I think they'll be better this year, because last year I planted them early June and then it didn't rain for a month. So nothing came up until like first week in July. And I still had them that tall. So I'm hoping this year I can get them in, get them growing mid-May and get an extra 6 weeks on them, so that they're matured out, so that once we get to that late October range, they're really pounding them. Okay.
Yeah, that's neat. That's a tall bean.
Oh, it's stupid tall. It's like you look at the website and you're looking at it, you're like, there's no way. There's just no way. But yeah, they created them for hunters. It's a forage soybean, and they actually also the beans, when the leaves get eaten, it keeps growing stalks. It keeps growing more beans. So if you're in a heavy browse area, you'll have these short plants, and you can tell they're getting browsed because there's like just shoots everywhere, because it's still trying to keep up and produce more beans.
Right. That's the nice thing about hybrids.
Yeah, no, it's neat. It's neat. The guy is he's a neat guy. He's like the president of the Soybean Association. So we talked to him, that was a couple shows ago, but he's a good dude. So I'm gonna put those up again. We've got wet areas, so it's hard to grow much else than clover, and soybeans did well. And otherwise, I guess, I'm the only idiot that would buy a duck hunting property and want to shoot deer on it.
Well, hey.
But so Doug, I want to talk to you about a specific product next, your EverComp product after our break. And then Doug's agreed to stay around. We're going to also talk about a hunt that sticks in his memory in the last part of our show. So Doug, you're going to stick around?
I will stick around. This is kind of fun.
All right. We're going to have all that and more coming up after this.
Dog kennels can be beautiful. That's the basis on which we built DCT Kennels. We give you the opportunity to have a beautiful kennel that blends seamlessly with your home decor while providing a safe and comfortable respite for your dog. Visit dctkennels.com to see all of our custom selections and start building your dream custom doggy credenza.
Welcome to Boucher in Janesville, where customer service is our #1 priority.
Our customers come back to us because of the experience that we provide for them.
We're here to make sure that we find you the right car, one that fits your budget, and do so in a timely manner.
When we say we ride with you every mile, it means we care about you and how you are treated.
Estamos con personal que habla español en los departamentos de servicio y venta.
Our certified technicians are here to help you with all your service needs.
Visit us today at Boucher.com.
At Boucher, we ride with you every mile.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Memphis has decided to join us to talk to Doug about what his favorite product is. And well, I guess not favorite product, but my favorite product, which is EverCalm. I will tell you that I have used a lot of hunting products. I've used the scent lock, scent free, scent this, scent that, lock your scent. I've never had success. Now, I'm hunting down in central Wisconsin where there's more people around, and we have an active rail yard right off our property. So I think the deer are far more tolerant than when I hunted up in northern Wisconsin, where, my gosh, there was a couple stands that I was the only person that those deer would have interaction with at that spot the entire year, because it was such a walk in. But I was telling Doug and told him we needed to talk about this on the show, because I have had EverCalm where I've used the wax-based scent. I put it on the tree on a limb next to where I'm at. And that one hunt, the wind was, I guess we would say, borderline on if I should sit a stand, and then it switched on me and I was hosed. I stayed anyway. I had 4 adult does and 3 fawns that went directly through my scent cone at about 50 yards. And not once did they even blink. That is a great product, Doug. Tell us more about it.
Well, as I said earlier, EverCalm, we figured it out accidentally, and it originally was deer herd in a bottle. And we say herd because it's a blend of does, adult does, young bucks, and fawns. And in that combination, as we played with it, we figured out what combination, how much doe, how much fawn, how much buck attracted all of them. Everybody wanted to figure out who the new deer were in the area, and yet the new deer were there, so they felt safe and comfortable. And that's where the calming came in and created a new category in the scent industry. But again, having it in a liquid form, it didn't take much to overwhelm an area, because in its pure form, it's extremely strong.
Okay.
In the liquid form, so you want to be careful how much you use. By complete accident, Jeff, when we went to blend the liquid into the wax, the ability for the wax to hold a certain volume of that scent became that amount that you can't overwhelm an area. You can put all kinds of it out, and it's strong, but it doesn't overwhelm the senses of a deer. It just by accident, it happened. It wasn't anything we intentionally tried to do. So, because hunters will say, well, how much do I put out? A little bit, a couple wipes. It doesn't matter. You can put it on you can put it on the trees, you can put it in things in your area, create an entire area or environment around your hunting stand that is just all deer smells. It's from their bedding areas. And so all the deer in the area want to come. They want to find out who's there, because they can smell adult does, they can smell young bucks, they can smell fawns. Where do they fit into the pecking order? I mean, when that dominant doe in your area comes out and she smells that, she's like, okay, somebody new's here. I need to figure out who they are, where they are, and let them know that I'm still the dominant doe.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, I don't see them, so I can stay calm and feel safe. Well, that gives you the perfect hunting opportunity.
So are you sticking this out only when you hunt, or do you suggest if you have a couple of solid stands that you normally hunt, you stick it out as just, something you put out to get the deer attracted to the area? What would be the usage of it?
There's 2 things that I would suggest doing out of the season. First one is that if you're putting any cameras out whatsoever, put it out in front of your camera, because what it's going to do is it's going to pull all the deer in that area, bucks and does, right to that spot, and you're going to get better pictures. So
Okay.
it really can help you identify all the deer in your area and the progression of antler growth on the bucks, your fawn, the number of fawns that does are having. A lot of people now are using it in front of cameras, and they can get actually what they call a herd count for the area, because all of a sudden, oh, I know that doe, she's got one fawn. Oh, those two does have two fawns.
Mhm.
Well, now you're starting to know the total number of deer in your area, because that has to do with food plot size. Has to do with natural food products. Are there farm grounds? The other one is, like you and I talked earlier, is putting what I call, the tree in the middle of your food plot, creating a community stopping area. It's where everyone wants to come. They want to check that tree out because Evercalm's on it, and get them used to coming where you want them to come once season comes. And so those two things you can train.
How often do you have to reapply? Like, are you talking over a series of, you should reapply once a week, twice a week? Obviously, some people can't get out that often, but in the perfect world, how often would you reapply?
I would say no more than every 5 days, 5 to 7 days. That's plenty. And if you get up there once a month, that's fine. Get up there once a month and do it. It's still going to help train them to come to that area and feel safe and know that other deer have been there. That's really what you're doing. Hunters don't understand how trainable deer are.
Mhm.
They really don't. And you can use machines to do it. You can use your own human smell. You can use dogs. We have a shepherd here on the farm. Our deer could care less about that shepherd. They know that dog. They know its size. They know its demeanor. They know its smell. They know what it looks like.
Mhm.
My daughter can come over with her black dog. They have none. They know exactly instantly it's a different dog, and they're all on guard. So again, if you can train them to do things, lawnmowers. I got a buddy of mine that the deer, he can be mowing his lawn. They'll walk right in the yard with him. He goes out to go bow hunting. He goes, man, I can't even see him. I said, well, tell your wife, take you out on the lawnmower, get up in your tree stand, have her drive away. Boom, shoots a deer immediately.
Yeah, you see that with tractors, where I had once, they were cutting, and we've got like probably a 20-acre field right off of our property, and they started cutting corn. And I was like, damn it, I'm screwed now. Well, I'm here. I'll still hunt.
Yep.
I was watching bucks and does chase each other across the openings where the combine had went. They didn't give a shit. They were having a ball because they knew that combine was not danger.
Yeah, something about a diesel engine is soothing to a whitetail deer. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it is. Tractors. I mean, most states have outlawed having guns and stuff on tractors, and there's a reason
Really?
for that.
Okay.
Oh, Michigan, absolutely. You cannot, because you can kill anything and everything. They actually come to those tractors. When I hunt Minnesota, I asked the farmer to actually park his biggest tractor right out in the middle of the top of the hill in the hayfield. What do you think? All the deer come up out of the valley. Where do you think they go? They look at that tractor and go right to it, and I'm sitting underneath it. I can't sit in it. I can't sit in it legally, but I'm sitting underneath the back tire.
Sure.
Makes a pretty easy hunt.
Yeah, no. So answer me this. So we've got the scent out, the deer are attracted to it. They want to smell it.
Yep.
What about the big smelly guy that's still sitting there when you're hunting there? How does it get them to the point where they're not worried about the human scent? Is it something where it's too overwhelming, where it's blocking it? Or they're basically assuming, you know what, there's other deer there, so it must not be a danger.
There you go. The last thing you just said, I smell human, but I also smell real fresh new deer that are here. And therefore, if they can be here, I can be here. And therefore, I'm going to let my guard down. And I've even had it, and you've probably had it, where deer will come in and they know something's not right. And normally they would be stomping, they'd be blowing, they'd be carrying on like crazy. But because they smell Evercalm, I'm going to be on guard. I'm really going to pay attention, but I'm not going to lose my mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference in being successful or not successful on that hunt. Because if those does are there early season, the bucks are going to come out just before dark.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you're looking for, or if you're looking to fill a freezer, man, the does are right where you want them. Even one of the things Evercalm has done in the hunting industry is it's made people realize that you are okay having deer coming to you from downwind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's think about it. When we grew up, man, if anything was downwind, it was over, game out.
Yep.
Not with Evercalm anymore. Now it actually pulls them from downwind and brings them right up to you. But you better have some Evercalm out in front of you, or they stop right where you're at, because all of a sudden it's like, well, that smell went away.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll back up. Oh, there it is. Now, again, create that entire area that you're hunting into an Evercalm environment, I guess is what you would call it.
And I have to admit, I've never done that. I always put it out basically at me on the tree, and used it more, not as an attractant, more as a concealment for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've always looked at it that way. So that's kind of cool to do. And having trained dogs, and you look at a dog's nose and a deer's nose, at least a Labrador Retriever, they've got the longer nose. And what people need to realize is you've got all of the scent nerves and whatever you want to call them that are in that nose. And that's why a pug is not a good tracking dog, but a Labrador Retriever is. It only makes sense to use something like Evercalm every time that you have out something like a doe and heat type product, because otherwise, if you don't have that calming presence that's going to make it where they think it's okay, and they come in, they would probably be far more apt to spook on your scent if they did smell you. And again, you're bringing them from downwind.
Right. Yeah. If you're just putting VS1 out and that's for scent, and they smell, okay, there's deer and heat, but they hit your scent. Oh, hold on a minute. That doe and heat could have been in a scrape. She could have peed that, hours ago. I'm not staying around when I smell human odor, but if I can mask with Evercalm, now I not only have new deer and I feel comfortable deer are here, but I have a doe and heat. Now you've got a double win on your side. I always say you've got to win at least 2 out of the 3 senses on a deer. Smelling, seeing, and hearing. If you can win 2 out of 3, you basically have a 60% chance. If you get all 3, you've got 90%. Every hunter goes, well, yeah, that's not 100%. No, that last 10% is something you can't control. It's called a sixth sense that a deer has. You just can't beat that. Why are some bucks completely nocturnal their entire life? Because to them, they were smart enough to learn that was safe to them, and it's proven to be right. So that's what they are.
Yeah.
And there's nothing we're going to do as hunters about that.
No, but yeah, definitely people should consider the Evercalm thing, because I'm just thinking of this as we talk. Every guy has put out the doe and heat stuff, and every guy has been busted when a deer comes from downwind. So guess what? The deer are smart enough to learn these things. So you almost, I almost think you're better off putting both out as a way of bringing them in, and that you'd probably be successful not only masking but also having them come all the way into finish if you've got both products out there.
Yeah, and this again isn't us. I mean, we've had the buyer at Cabela's Bass Pro, the buyer at Dick's. Those guys have literally sat down and said, listen, you have the most #1 requested scent by hunters in the scent industry. And that is because they go into their stores, and if they don't have that product, they turn around and walk out. They don't buy anything else. That is what they're specifically looking for. And those hunters are telling them, I will not hunt without Evercalm. It has to be in the area. You can add, like you said, VS1, you can add rutting buck, any other scents you want, but that's a mainstay that just creates that area of safety and calmness that deer will come into. So you're right. It's and we're just fortunate it's ours. I mean, we didn't know this was what was going to happen by any means. So it's kind of fun.
This year I'm going to try actually and hunt when the wind is, I guess, bad.
Yeah.
and put the scent out. So you're telling me that you'll hunt a stand no matter what the wind is, as long as your clothes are clean and you have ever come. You're more than comfortable to do that.
Yep.
You've shot 1 or 2 deer in your life, I can see behind you.
A few. A few. And the thing is, I've raised a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so I'm studying them 24/7.
Mhm.
And it's been 31 years now that we've been studying and learning, and I'm still learning. They're still teaching me things, but will every deer be calm? No, you're not going to get 100%.
Mhm.
But the odds, ever calm absolutely puts the odds in my favor that I'm going to have a greater opportunity at getting the shot I want that night, even if the wind's wrong.
Mhm.
So I'm not upset. I'm not upset having the wind on my back going out into the food plot.
Sure.
I have to be prepared. So
Hey, give me 1 second, Doug. We're going to get back to you here on your favorite hunt, and I'm going to go see why the dogs are barking. But thanks for bringing that part up, talking about EverCom. Stick with us until the next part of the show where Doug's going to talk about a memorable hunt. All that and more coming up after this. If you love the shooting sports like I do, you need to check out our friends at Mech Outdoors. They have fantastic products, whether you're looking at shot shell or metallic reloading, or you want to get yourself a clay thrower so you can practice up for the season. For more information, check out their website at mechoutdoors.com. Hey, welcome back to the show. Doug, Uncle Doug, tell me a story.
well, I got two stories I got to tell you. One's going to be kind of quick, but we had this farm for 18 years. And I have never shot a deer off this farm. Now, I've seen a lot of good ones. I let my kids hunt. I let my workers hunt. But it was actually on my dad's birthday, the year that I lost my father. And I went out back and I just kind of needed to go sit and just, I guess I was kind of reminiscing, because him and I were hunting buddies. We hunted and did everything together. And I think because of being the most memorable, what shows up at 157-inch 10-point. And I actually shot it, crossbow, and it came out just before dark, and Karen actually came out and helped me track it and found it. But that one was special. That one's down in the basement just because the year I lost my dad, literally on his birthday is the first deer that I've ever shot off this farm, even though I've had it at that time 18 years. So that deer, that was special. And then Karen, actually, that's the first time she's ever tracked a deer with me.
She got it for you too?
What's that?
Did she gut it for you and drag it for you?
Not even close.
So she likes you, doesn't love you. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, exactly. But the other story I want to tell you, it kind of goes in what we've been talking about, but I'm hunting out back. I just put a food plot in, and what I did is I actually took a chunk of the corner of the fenced in part and took it out so I could make a food plot. Well, I got the food plot in that year, didn't have any tree stand, so I put a ground blind in the southeast corner of this, and I really wanted to hunt it. I mean, I'm excited, and guess what happens? Everything's right, other than we have a completely south wind.
Mm-hmm.
So my scent, as we're talking about, is blowing absolutely, totally the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And out comes the does, out comes the fawns. Well, big acorn crop that year. So what's right downwind? All the acorn trees. So the does go over, the fawns go running over in front of them. The does go over and they kind of stopped and, they're smelling. Now I'm in a ground blind,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got the camera. I'm trying to film this. And the does are, like we talked earlier, they're on guard, but they know what they smell. I've got EverCalm out. I got a stink stick hanging in the window with EverCalm. And so they're eating and they're looking up, they're eating, they're looking up. Well, one of the fawns looks up, smells, it starts coming my way. Now, on the side where they're coming from, where that fawn's coming from, there's an old broken down little brush pile. Not big, but it's kind of like a little block that it couldn't quite get to my blind. and it's walking. Well, it finally gets right to that blind. Now, its nose is probably 3 feet, 2.5, 3 feet from the blind, exactly downwind. I'm in there, and I'm literally starting to chuckle to myself. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at this, I'm going, that fawn's going to jump through this window. Now, again, it's downwind, and all I've got out is Evercall.
Yeah.
The moms are 30 yards down there eating acorns, watching this, and sure enough, that little fart jumps into that window. And as soon as it comes in, I mean, I'm not scared because I know how to grab deer. You know, I just grab it and I'm going to push it out. It no more than hit the ground and went right out the front window. It was like, as it's going in, its nose, I can only imagine the amount of human smell that went up its nostrils.
Yep.
And it hit and turned to 90 degrees and went right back out and stopped and turned around and looked like, what in the world is that? I busted right out loud laughing. I mean, I blew the hunt. The does went flying, but I couldn't help it. I'm thinking it's going to jack up my camera. It's going to ruin my bow. But again, going back to what we said, to have a fawn literally jump into a ground blind, and it immediately jumped out. I mean, it was right between my legs. I'm just like, are you kidding me? This is awesome. But those are probably the two coolest hunts. I mean, I've been on a lot of hunts, but when you really just look at, from the heart standpoint, my dad's hunt, you know, that's my dad's buck. And then from a scent experience, to have a deer jump in the blind with you, coming from downwind, don't get much better than that. So
that is crazy. You're lucky you didn't have the mesh up where he jumped into the mesh and then got himself hung up.
Oh, I know. And it's funny. I never put the mesh up. I don't know why. It's just something. I have a hard time trusting you can shoot through that stuff.
I don't trust you can.
It's a mental thing with me.
Yeah, I had an 11 point, and it's funny. You talk about sentimental too. The first time that I hunted on this property, and it was on this food plot, was with my son Cole that passed away, and we shot the split brow 12 point. That I sent you guys a picture of that. That was where we used my dog to track then. And then the first time that I sat with my son Cal, we shot an 11 point. Well, what happened though 3 days before was I tried shooting through the mesh with a crossbow at 20 yards. And I still to this day don't know if it was just me or the mesh, but I won't shoot through mesh anymore. And I shot and the deer stood there and like jumped and then stood there for like minutes, like torturing me. Like it was a nice deer and wouldn't leave. And I'm like, I had no way to cock the crossbow because he's looking at me, knew something happened. But then what Cal and I sat on that first time Cal ever sat same spot, and we shot that deer the year after Cole passed away.
Wow.
Always new stuff.
You know, yeah, it's I've had a lot of neat experiences with a lot of neat people like you. You know, I've been able to go all over the country through Canada and do all these different hunts. And to be honest with you, the next one would be my daughter's turkey hunt, to be honest with you. Her first turkey was 12 3/4 inch beard, 15 minutes. She gave me the biggest hug I've ever had in my life. And I've never had a hug from her like it. It was one of those instantaneous, this is an unbelievable thing, you know? So she's the turkey hunter. She's hooked.
Yeah, that's why people got to realize it's not about what you get, it's the experiences that you get. And it's so much more powerful than the full strap of ducks or the big deer. I try to take out new hunters every year. I always look at it as I always wanted to make a difference in the hunting industry and the hunting world, and had the TV show, and it's like, well, I don't have that now. So every year I try to take a couple of guys out that have never duck hunted and try to grow the sport. And it's funny because I'll have like a bad hunt where we maybe hardly fire a shot, and I'm like, yeah, not a great day. And they're always, dude, this is so awesome, because they appreciate it because it's not old hat to them. They just appreciate being out and seeing birds flying around and seeing deer and seeing the different things. And it's something I think that people get away from and they don't realize, because we're all in that sprint to get a picture for Instagram or Facebook.
You know, I think that's one of the blessings that came out of COVID. When everybody got shut down, so many people that as kids used to hunt and they stopped because they got busy with life, and they went back into the woods and we forgot what we've been missing.
Yeah.
And now they're doing it with their kids. And so we've got a new generation that is starting to really fall back in love with the outdoors. And even this past year, you could see a lot of it, not all of it stayed, but a lot of it stayed. And those people kept on hunting one way or the other and staying involved. And it was pretty neat to see. So,
Well, hell, with inflation, I'm sure they're all going to have to now. Meat prices, crepes. I bought 2 racks of ribs. It was $50. So I'm like, I didn't even realize how expensive meat was because all I eat is deer meat.
well, it's funny. I've already got guys talking about how they're planning on filling the freezers and how to get more tags to put, literally venison in the freezer this fall. So if they're talking about it right now and we're just in spring, it could be really intensified by fall. So, which hopefully works out for us.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, Doug, thank you so much for being on our show. If someone wanted to find out more about all that you guys do, where would they go?
Go to the website conquestsense.com. And
You guys have your TV show from the past too. Where's that located?
that's right there. Everything is at conquestsense.com. The TV show, all of our products, the history of the farm, everything is all at that website.
You guys want to check them out. Doug and Karen Roberts are 2 of the good people in the industry. Please support them. Check out their products. They work. They've also got a great line of dog training products. I used to be on the page that had the dog training products. Looking good. I don't know if I am anymore, but
You were younger back then.
I was. I definitely. We talk about imitation is flattery. Whenever I see dog breeders that are fat and ugly, I think, oh, good, it's imitation. It must be about me. So that's the flattery I get now. But check their stuff out. They have great products, whether it's dog training lines. We'll have Doug on at some point and talk about that stuff later. Deer stuff. They've got predator sense. They've got a lot of great things and they're good people. So please check them out. And thank you so much for watching this week's show. Doug, thank you for being on our show.
Oh, it's been an honor. Thank you, Jeff. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Everyone have a great week. God bless.